of you are probably familiar with the names Siegfried and Roy, as they're a very popular duo that had a magic show in Vegas, and they incorporated the use of white tigers and white lions in these shows, and they raised these animals as their own pets and had a very close bond with them. Despite years of bonding and training with these animals, in 2003, Roy was brutally attacked on stage, where the tiger brutally attacked him and dragged him off stage during one of the performances. As a result, he's hardly able to walk or speak. Today, I will be talking to you about animal attacks, conditions in which provoke these animals, and how we can better this animal's environment. So why is it that these animals, who have worked so closely with their trainers, will seemingly attack them out of cold blood? The answer is they're wild animals. They're not meant to be held in small, restricted areas without their families and without the freedom to go and catch their prey. We can't treat these powerful wild animals like their house pets and expect for nothing bad. Although there are many accounts of animal attacks, I will be focusing in particular on the captivity of orcas, as there have been many attacks on trainers. In 2013, a documentary called Blackfish was released, and it brought about a very huge controversy between SeaWorld and the captivity of orcas. It focuses on a particular 12,000-pound killer whale named Tilikum, who was responsible for the deaths of 3 people. The first attack was on Kelty Byrne, who was a trainer at Sealand in 1991. The second was a man who snuck into SeaWorld after hours and was found dead on the whale's back in 1999. And third was head trainer at SeaWorld, Don Brancho, in 2010. The documentary also reveals the conditions in which these whales are being held in captivity and why they believe that captivity is the reasons for these attacks. Tilikum is definitely not the only whale that has attacked a trainer. There have been many incidents where whales attempt to drown the trainers by holding them at the bottom of their pens. They will also bite them and drag them around, and they have also been known to lunge at them. After visiting www.orcahome.e, it is shown that there are over 100 attacks and incidents of aggressive behavior, most of which we never really hear about. Quoted from the Blackfish documentary, there is no record of an orca doing any harm to any human in the wild. And according to an article titled SeaWorld Tragedy Underscores Mystery of Animals in Captivity, written in 1989 by Sherry Rohn, this is what leads us to believe that captivity is the cause for these brutal attacks. It is thought that the stress of captivity lowers their resistance to disease, and it clearly also alters their behavior, leading, among other things, to unpredictable aggression. The very first orca captured in 1961 only lasted 1 day. She died after repeatedly swimming around in high speeds and ramming into the sides of the tank. Anytime you change an animal's environment, it's going to affect the animal, says Greg Shadwatcher, a biologist with the National Wildlife Federation. We're just not good at knowing what will affect the behavior. SeaWorld parks are most well known for their fun and energetic Shamu shows where trainers perform tricks with these huge killer whales. They captivate the audience with these magnificent creatures and how well they seem to interact with these trainers. Unfortunately, these beautiful creatures are contained in areas much too small for their size. Michael McCarthy from The Independent explains it like this: if you take one out of the sea and stick it in a concrete swimming pool for the rest of its life, you think that will have a benign effect on the animal's personality? What, thanks for all the fish? When you consider the thousands of miles of open ocean through which wild killer whales freely roam, ending up in SeaWorld is the orca equivalent of you or me being imprisoned by a lunatic in a cupboard under the stairs. Not only are these whales in small pools, they have also been taken from their families. Wild adult offspring never leave their mothers in the wild, and they have a tight-knit group of up to 50 whales. After Tilikum was taken from the wild, he was taken to a tiny marine park called Sealand. The conditions were dreadful, as he was kept in a 20 by 30 foot pen at night with 2 other whales who constantly were ganging up on him and attacking him. Of course, he had no way of escaping, so he had to deal with these attacks. As you can imagine, this would provoke an animal to something that could lead to aggression on trainers. Shortly after the death of Kelsey Byrne in 1991, SeaLink closed, which left an opportunity for SeaWorld to buy Tilikum as they were in need for a male to breed. Since the 2 more deaths that I have already mentioned earlier, he is stuck in captivity with little interaction from trainers or from other whales. In the wild, female orcas live to be 100 years old, and males about 50 or 60 years old. SeaWorld makes claims that all whales live to be 25 to 35 years old, when in reality, that's only the span for orcas that are in captivity. After scanning an orca's brain, neuroscientist Lori Moreno discovered that orcas have a part of the brain that humans don't, and it processes emotions. According to petergreenberg.com, orcas use echolocation for hunting, calling other whales, and understanding their surroundings. Being in a confined tank prevents the use of proper echolocation. These animals have highly emotional lives and have a sense of self and community. This is why it's inhumane to separate these animals from their communities and their families. So what can we do about this? In Tilikum's case, we can all do our part by going to freetillynow.org and sign a petition to free him from captivity, as he's only being held in captivity so that they can collect his sperm for breeding. This is a small step to making a difference. In addition, others have been protesting in front of SeaWorld in order to raise awareness. It's not right to take wild animals from their homes if we can't do our part to take care of them. It is not my opinion that SeaWorld is an evil corporation that doesn't take care of their animals. However, I do not agree with the conditions in which these whales are held in. Is it wise for humans to be keeping these extremely powerful predators of the sea in captivity for entertainment? Not only are these situations potentially deadly for the trainers, but for the whales as well, as they live much shorter when they're in captivity. Alexandra Morton, a whale researcher and director of the Raincoast Research Society, after studying the sounds of 2 orcas that were being kept in captive at Marineland, said, "I wouldn't study captive whales again. I left there with strong suspicions that those whales were slightly insane. A whale in captivity is not a living whale, it is a dying whale." In conclusion, I have talked about animal attacks, conditions in which provoke these animals, and how we can better these animals' environment. I hope that I have given you all something to think about and persuaded you to do some research further on this topic. Thank you.